How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Friday build show. We only have one build to do today. We were going to do two, but we found out we had a missing part that isn't going to arrive until Tuesday. So we will be doing that build. Actually, I'm going to run out and grab the part at Micro Center tomorrow and get the build done tomorrow. So we will be doing another build stream tomorrow, and then possibly a third on Sunday, and then a fourth on Monday. So we might have back-to-back build streams this weekend, leading into the new week for the new year. This is actually going to be our first build of 2024, so I'm hoping you guys enjoy this one. It is a budget build, so nothing too crazy. Tomorrow we're going to have a little bit more horsepower with a couple of bigger builds as well throughout the weekend. So hopefully everybody enjoys the content. Make sure you are also following us over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Kick, all those. It helps us out a lot. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the top down. I did not get the name that this build is actually going to go over to or dedicated to, but the mom's name is Ariel, so I am using her name for the build. So here we go. Top down. So to start off, this is a like I said, a budget build, so we are building with a budget in mind, and we did have to go with used components for both the motherboard, CPU, and the graphics card. Those 2 or 3 items are used. We do have new RAM, new SSD, new cooler, new power supply, and a new case that we're going to be building with. We're going to be building in the Montech Air 100 in white. So it's going to be a white themed PC build, and the CPU is going to be at a Intel i5 4th generation. I believe it's like a 4430, something like that. And then we've got 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM here, brand new RAM, as well as 1 terabyte SSD. And we're going to be cooling the CPU with a Thermalright Assassin X120 SE. And that does have addressable RGB. The RGB throughout the system is actually going to be managed by a hardware controller that is included with the case. So it's going to be a button DUI that will be controlling the RGB in this system. The video card's an RX 570 8GB graphics card. It's a great card still. Fully capable of playing pretty much any title you want to throw at it in 1080p. The biggest bottleneck probably in this entire setup is going to be that CPU and motherboard combo, but that's how we can get the price down to a extremely affordable price, and it's something that you can upgrade later on when you're ready. We have a 500 watt power supply that's going to be powering the system, and since we are using a SATA SSD, 1 terabyte SATA SSD, we do need the SATA cable, which was not included with the motherboard, but thank goodness I have a plethora of them over here. I haven't been using SATA in so long. These cables are just stacked up over here, so I've got tons of those. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by removing the stock Intel cooler that was included with this bundle and the stick of RAM that was included with this bundle. And we're going to put the cooler on, add the RAM to the board, and then we'll get that dropped in the case. This will probably be a pretty quick stream. It's not going to be super long, so we're probably going to maybe go into about 45 minutes to an hour. I'm going to go into detail as much as I can as I'm going through the build. If you have any questions, always ask me, and I'm happy to answer. All right, so I'm going to move some of this out of the way because we don't need it here in front of us right away. Like, for example, the SSD won't be for a little while, and neither will the graphics card. But these items we're going to be starting with here, so we can zoom in and take a look at what we're working with. So if you want to do a budget type build, this is a really good choice. You can find these used on eBay, or maybe in your your Facebook marketplace for relatively cheap. They are a little older, so the platform is older. But if, let's say, you have $300 or $400 that you're looking to spend on a PC, you're really not going to be able to do that with a newer platform and have a decent graphics card. There are some deals here and there that you might be able to find brand new, but it's really tough to do a gaming PC on a $300 or $400 budget. Very tough, especially if you're trying to do it new. So I went with a used bundle on eBay. I believe this was around $80 for an i5 4th gen CPU, and it also included 8 gigs of RAM, though we're not going to use that, and a B85 gigabyte motherboard. So this is actually a really nice, at the time, was a really nice micro ATX motherboard because it included plenty of expansion slots, and it had the USB 3 ready option here, which is usually what you target also. So that's another thing you want to look for, is most cases have USB 3 input on them on the top or the front panel. So you want to make sure you get a board at least with USB 3 to make sure all your USB ports are functioning. So if you are doing any type of budget building and budget flipping, this is still a solid option for 1080p, but it is getting to the point where you might want to look at maybe the i7 versus the i5. Those are a little more expensive, which then makes it, hey, you may as well just go with a Ryzen 3 on a B450 platform at that point, because that's where the i7 is, the 4th gen i7 is priced at in the used market. So weigh your options, and you can put together some, decent budget builds, and start PC flipping yourself if you'd like. But this is not really a PC flip. This is just something I focus on, trying to put together the best possible budget PC that I can within a reasonable price. So this one will do 1080p pretty comfortably, and it'll play pretty much any title that you throw at it. The only games that are going to be really limited are going to be the CPU intensive games. So anything that's really relying on the CPU, aka Call of Duty, is going to struggle on the system a little bit. So you're going to be limited to maybe like 40 to 60 FPS in that range in Call of Duty on all those settings. But for example, games like Fortnite or Minecraft, you'll be able to play that all day, 80 to 100 FPS, and really enjoy it. Also, if you are planning to play Valorant on an older platform like this, you should go with Windows 10, not Windows 11. Windows 11 is going to force, I don't think you could put 11 on this thing, honestly, but Windows 11 with Valorant is going to force that TPM and those security requirements to be enabled. I helped you yesterday. Awesome. Glad I helped. My Wi-Fi wasn't working and my video helped. Oh, sweet. Well, welcome to a build stream. We're actually doing a very, very budget build today. I think the music's a little too loud. So this is ideally for like you have a kid and you want to, hey, what's up, yo? You almost had it. I always struggle to read your name when it first comes up, and then I always have it. Almost got it. How's it going? Man, it's going good. Thanks for asking. How's your new year? Hey, LG, what's up? What time you're going to be streaming Saturday and Sunday? Also, I love your vids and have watched your previous streams. Love the work, man. Thanks. So I will probably be streaming in the afternoon Eastern time. So probably starting 3 p.m.-ish Saturday. Sunday will probably be around the same time, if not a little earlier. Hey, Steve. Welcome back to the stream. You got an RTX 4070 Ti? That's awesome. You're loving this? Yeah, that thing is a beast. And you got the new power supply with the 12 plus 4-pin. Nice. You slept. You slept the new year away. The last two build were fire. Thank you, sir. Yeah, the last couple builds were awesome. We do have a couple more of those, style builds coming up here on this weekend and Monday. So hang out and tune in. But we're doing a very budget build today. So I was going to be doing a second build today, but we're missing the graphics card, unfortunately. It was supposed to be here, but they didn't ship it out until after the 2nd. And it was shipped from Ontario for some reason, which makes no sense because I ordered it from the US, from a US seller. So I don't know. My uncle actually got a PC from you, his friend, and he said it has been great. Awesome. That's awesome to hear, man. Yeah. Whenever they're ready for upgrades or if they need any help, they know how to contact me. But no, yeah, it's been kind of cool. I was actually at Micro Center a couple days ago, just before the new year, actually, and I was checking out, and one of the guys that was checking out was like, "I recognize you from somewhere," and I'm like, "I do live streams of PC builds," and he's like, "Yeah, I actually followed your video for the Gigabyte motherboard Wi-Fi issue," and he's like, "That actually saved my butt," and I didn't realize that video was so popular. I guess I got to do more of those how-to videos, I guess. How to fix this random problem. I have actually a bunch of them, and I've talked about them before, and just haven't had time to edit them. Happy New Year, Ben. Hey, Anthony. Happy New Year to you as well. I hope the PC is running great for the young one. But we're going to start with getting this cleaned up. So we're going to clean up some of this thermal paste. If you have never done this before, usually you could just do it with a paper towel. If it's really bad, then you can use some alcohol to clean it up. Which I don't know if that's actually showing very clearly on the screen there. This is the stuff I use. Does a great job if you need to use a liquid to clean it up. But for the most part, you should be able to just use like a paper towel. Make sure you're using something disposable because of this thermal paste is really hard to get out. First build of the new year. Yes, it is. This is the very first build of the new year. And what better way to do it than a budget build? So we're going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Then we're going to get this ready for the new heatsink that we're going to drop on this thing. I just want to make sure that's all cleaned off. Looks pretty clean. PC is amazing. Good luck with the build. Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for dropping in, sir. It's good to hear that it's still running like it's new. Should be. All right, we've got a couple of 8 gig sticks of RAM that we're going to be throwing in here. So it's going to be a total of 16 gigabytes because most gaming PCs, even if it's a budget build, I highly recommend going 16 gigs. If you don't go 16 gigs nowadays, your games will struggle. This stuff is actually pretty cool because I thought it was Samsung, but it might not be. It's like a Kingston It's literally the Kingston logo. So it's like this company, I think, purchased Kingston RAM with the King. It's even a Kingston heat spreader on here, and relabeled it. I think that's what they did. But it's DDR3, 1600 megahertz. But the heat spreader is pretty cool. Nice touch to it. It is relatively cheap. I think this set of RAM was 28 bucks. But I mean, RAM's so cheap that you may as well go 16, even on the budget builds. Definitely worth it. Oh, that one's already got something in it. Bye. All right, so now let's go ahead and get our Thermalright Assassin X120R SE white addressable RGB heatsink installed. And when you're looking for a new cooler for an older setup, you always have to make sure that it supports the socket as well. But some of the newer coolers don't even support the older sockets anymore. They don't have the mounting hardware. So just make sure you read the details and make sure that it supports the new or the older socket types that you're the one that you're mounting to. If you're ever doing a budget build, keep that in mind. Just something to keep in mind. This is a super nice 4 heat pipe tower air cooler, which will do a great job. Since the CPU is going to be under a massive load for most of its life in a gaming PC with this card, paired with this card, this thing's going to be probably 80 to 100% usage in most games. We already know this, so we want to make sure we put a decent cooler on it so it doesn't throttle. Get the most out of that CPU. But it's a start for a PC. Doesn't always have to be the biggest, baddest PC to enjoy 1080p gaming. And you could do a pretty good PC with a few $100. All right, so now we're going to get our parts here. I think we need these opened. There you go. So I just added the back plate to the back of the motherboard, and now I'm getting the hardware ready here so we can get that mounted to the motherboard as well. We got some screws and some studs that we need to add here for the brackets. So those 4 studs go on the over the back plate that we added, and then we're going to add the brackets here to the studs. I believe it's on the inner one. If I remember correctly, I am putting it in the right one. For LGA 15 or 11 something. I think this is 1150. Actually, might face the other direction. Actually, no. I'll reference the instructions here in just a moment. I'm pretty sure it goes like. It's been so long since I've done this cooler on an Intel socket. Yep, that's the right way. I didn't secure the other one down yet. Tighten it, I say. But I will get back to that here in just a moment. Excuse me. LG Chap, what's the $1 PC build on the top of the stream? Well, any revenue that we get from the any of the streams, so Twitch, Kick, YouTube, any subscriptions, any revenue we make from the channels goes towards the $1 PC sale. So if somebody subs, for example, over on Twitch or YouTube, and we make $1 off of that, that dollar goes into the jar, and eventually we have enough money to build out a PC and then do a $1 PC giveaway to all our subscribers, which will be and the reason why it has to be $1 is because here in Michigan, if I were to pick and choose somebody, it's considered gambling, and then give it away to them. That's considered gambling, and I'm not allowed to do that, so I have to sell you the computer for $1. Which usually, I should probably not say that here. I was going to say, generally I don't even accept the dollar. And I just write it off as paid in cash. There we go. We've got our brackets installed. And now we are ready to add the cooler. Thermal paste, then the cooler. Like a curved X. You got the Asus Pro Art 4070 Ti in black with gold trim. Nice! Yeah, the Pro Art's actually a really cool looking card. I like them. They're really sleek looking. Alright, so now we have the 120 millimeter fan that we're going to be installing on the cooler. And this is what's going to cool the heatsink, or blow the hot air off the heatsink as it warms, pulls the air from the CPU up to the heat pipes. The air from the fan is going to cool the fins. Which cools the heat pipe. Process can be rinse, wash, repeat. get the CPU fan header plugged in here. The CPU fan. And the last thing we want to do is grab a couple of zip ties, zip tie this up real quick, and then we're ready for the case. Nice and clean. So that'll be routed to the top of the case and to the back. All right, let's go ahead and get the case out and we'll mount this motherboard to the case. This is the Montech Air 100. It's a micro ATX case in white. Got a nice zap to it once you open it. Ugh, the static electricity. But it's got the tempered glass door side panel, which just lifts off. And then the back has two thumb screws, which secure the back panel to the case, which just pulls away towards the back. And then on the back side, we have our mounting hardware, or our hardware kit for the case here, located in the hard drive cage. So we'll remove that because we need that, and put the hard drive cage back. And then you have on the back, since we're here, we're looking, you have an addressable RGB controller here and hub. So this can be synced to your motherboard using your 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header on your motherboard. Or you can attach, which already comes pre-attached, the reset switch to the controller and use the reset button on the case to control the RGB. And it has 2 additional available ports here on the hub for additional RGB if you want. It's powered by a SATA connector. SATA power. So you can see you have your SATA and then your 3-pin synchronization cable. So we're going to be using the reset button to control the RGB because this motherboard does not have the 3-pin synchronization header, RGB header. I'm going to go ahead and get this flipped over. As we look on the inside, it includes 3 addressable RGB fans on the front and 1 addressable RGB fan on the rear. The front panel is very easy to remove. Basically a magnetic connection holding it. Magnetic slash, it feels magnetic, but I don't think it actually is. It's some sort of push mag. No, it's magnetic. Definitely magnetic. But it's very easy to remove this front panel to keep your PC clean. This mesh has a pretty good size to it, so it allows a lot of good airflow through for the intake. Your front fans are your intake, your rear is your exhaust. It does have space enough to add a 240 or 280 millimeter AIO radiator at the top. And I believe you can also fit a 360 millimeter AIO on the front if you remove the hard drive cage at the bottom. But overall, it's a great small case for, you know, good budget builds, because these you can get around anywhere from $55 to $70 right now. The value is really nice. Got a load of value to it. All right, so we have our IO shield. The most forgotten piece in any hardware build or PC build is your IO shield. I see so many builds out there on the internet. People builds missing the IO. There's a trick to putting this in without having to take the motherboard completely out, if you forgot it. There is a trick to it. Alright, so this motherboard, don't believe is a full micro ATX board. I believe it's a slim board, which means it doesn't use the standoffs. Studs over here, which I am correct. So we're good to go there. And we're going to use, I think it's 6 screws. Secure this board to the case. Whew. There we go. So now that we've got the board installed and secured, we can send the cable to the back, and then we'll get the front panel connections plugged in. So our power button, our USB 3, and our USB 2 and HD audio, as well as our fans. I think there's a port at the bottom actually for that. There is. Beautiful. This guy is going to run down here, but first thing I'm going to do is trade 2 of these. These cables don't, the way they send them plugged in doesn't line up very well for cable management. It just pulls on the cables, and I don't like that. If you trade them off for the ones that are closer to the hub, it works so much better. And then we'll add the RGB for the cooler to the hub really quick, maybe. Somehow we're backwards. Sometimes those connections can be a little tricky. All right, so now the front panel. We saw where the fan could be. Again, we're going to trade this guy for this guy. Get some more length. Hey, what's up, Jake? Jacob? Is it Jaco Beck? Jacob Beck 1? So USB front panel, USB 3. Go in here. Then we have a fan, which is going to control the speed of the fans throughout the PC. Case fans. Go in here at SysFan 3. Then we're going to add the power switch, power LEDs. Then our front panel USB 2.0, as well as our HD audio. That'll do it. All of our front panel connections are connected. Now we can really just drop a graphics card in here and get the power supply in. Oh, and the SSD. Actually, I'm going to run this SATA SSD cable now versus later. 0, 1. But it's a 1 terabyte SATA SSD that we're starting with. I always try to go 1 terabyte now because games are just getting so big. 512 and 256 are just... 256 definitely is not enough. But even 512 just isn't enough for a budget PC even. I mean, it is if you want to do... save just a couple dollars and play only a couple of games, but once you start, you know, playing a couple games, you'll find out that it fills up fast. 1 terabyte's pretty much the minimum now. Alright, so with our graphics card installed, we're now ready to drop our power supply in. Just downloaded Red Dead 2 and it was 120 gigabytes in size exactly. They're huge. Games are just so big now. So you really can't do much with a 512 anymore. Couple games and you're full. You're full up. Which sucks. So... Radeon GPU, yes. This is an AMD Radeon RX 570, 8 gigabyte, 256-bit graphics card. We are on the budget build series. That's what I should have titled it. We've got our 24 pin for our motherboard power, which we're going to send up through here. Hopefully it fits. We're a little on the struggle bus there. There we go. And then our CPU power. Hey, Jacob Beck, thanks for the follow, sir, over on Twitch. CPU power, which is our 8-pin power connection here. And then we have our PCIe, which is going to power the GPU. We're going to send it up through its own slot down below. The cable management is nice and neat on the other side. There we are. And don't worry, we'll come back to all that and clean it up a little bit. But here's our 24 pin. 24 pin just connects to our 24 pin connection here on the board. And then our 8-pin PCIe is going to go directly to the card here. And then we might add a zip tie to that, but it's pretty clean itself without even adding the tie. And then our CPU EPS 8-pin connection cable here at the top corner. The last one. And then the last thing we got to do is get the SSD installed, mounted. And then do some cable management, and then we'll fire it up. Fire it up for the first time. So we're going to place our SSD right here. Because it is a SATA SSD. You're looking for inspiration? Need a new PC? Nice. Well, that's all I do here is build PCs. And then, you know, I'll work on some videos here and there for how-to guides and things like that. So, lots of cool stuff we do over here. But it's all PC related. This is more of your budget, entry-level gaming PC, what I call them. Alright. So I've got to put this bracket on the back of this SSD, and then we can mount it to the case. We're going to use our SSD screws from our case hardware kit that was included with our case to secure the SSD to the bracket. You really don't need to do all 4 screws. You can if you want, but as long as you do 2 on an angle like I just did here, here and here, then you should be fine. The SSD is honestly not going to go anywhere. And that just drops back into place once you slot it in. And then screw to secure it. So now our SSD is mounted. We also have our SATA cable here for data. That needs to get plugged into the SSD as well as power. So we'll run it up like this. And then we need power. So SATA power from the power supply. It's going to run up here and plug into the SSD as well. And that's what will power the SSD. There we go. Now we just got to cable manage this, clean it up a bit. We'll start from the top and work our way down. The first thing, we're going to utilize these Velcro strips here. Tighten this up. Work our way down. The next thing we're going to do is take this leftover PCIe or PCI or power supply, geez, oh Pete's, cables, and we're going to make sure this goes down into its little cubby down here. Not really a whole ton here for me to zip tie, so I'm probably just going to keep these loose for future use. Loose for the future use. Do. And then these we're probably going to send in there as well. There's nowhere else for these things to go. This is just a lot of extra cable from the front panel connectors. I'll push these down here carefully so we're not pulling them apart. And last, all we gotta do is zip tie this. What do you think? Intel or AMD? Nvidia or Radeon? I have 1500. Well, what game are you planning to play? If it's Call of Duty, I'm going to tell you to go get the AMD Ryzen 7 5800X 3D, and then grab a probably 6900 XT or 7800 XT, and then go with your storage, your case, your cooler, etc. That's probably going to be getting you the most bang for your buck. If it's Call of Duty, go with an AMD card, especially like the 7800 XT. Most bang for your buck out of that. I am working on a on the website a new series specifically for that CPU and card within that price range. Actually, it's gonna be like an AMD featured build. But it's a solid CPU and a solid motherboard combination, or GPU combination. You can also go with a slightly newer version of that CPU, the 7800X 3D. That would be the other option to go with. But it is going to be more expensive. But it will set you up for better upgrades in the future, because the AM5 or the AM4 platform that the 5800X 3D is on is at the end of its road. So that would be, you know, the next stop would be a 5900X or 5950 XTX. That CPU, and that's it. No more upgrades after that. But would give you the most bang for your buck today. What do you think of that cable management there? Is that clean or what? Clean and pristine. Might try to slide this one in. Remind it. There you go. Nice and clean, huh? All right, let's go ahead and put this back panel on and let's fire it up. See what it looks like. All right, get your little tushy back in there, sir. Did not say you can go up there. I mean, it looks clean. C-L-E-A-N. Clean. Probably spelled that wrong. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Get us over at over on YouTube. So you're aware we're streaming to YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Facebook, and Twitter. So that's why I call out where you're messaging from. Sometimes it gets confusing. It's like having multiple conversations inside your head all at once. We're just getting ready to fire this thing up. We just finished building. I'll get a side view of it here for you guys in just a moment. I'm just trying to clean up all the extra stuff. So I can have some sort of method to my organization over here. Let's plug it in and I'll change the camera view for you. You can see it. You believe it. Hey, Dad Bods, how's it going, man? Happy Friday to you over there on Twitch. Let's get that side view going, huh? Side Dad Bod? No, just kidding. For the PC, not me. Don't look at me. All right, you guys ready to see this thing? Do it. Fire it up. How long have I been building PCs for? Probably 10 plus, maybe, I don't even, 15 years now. It's definitely longer than 10. Just got back home from work looking to see this Bad Jackson. Nice. Yeah, my day's not going to end yet, actually. After this stream, I got to go take a look at a golf simulator setup for somebody local over here that they're having some trouble with or need some help setting up. So I'm going to go run over there and take a look at it for them. Oh, yeah, I saw his comment. Yeah. I actually worked with him before, so I don't know why he hasn't just reached out to me. It's all good, though. But there you go. April, we have a boot. We're currently looking for a proper boot device. So insert media and select boot device, press any key. Windows. It will start it. Start the Windows. My old-fashioned P&Y drive. Are you looking forward to anything at CES? I guess I'm curious to see maybe what next steps are with where we're at right now with CPUs and NVIDIA. I mean, AI. My curiosity is more going to be around the AI and what that's going to, how that's going to impact everything. So, because as AI becomes more and more powerful, there's going to be more and more hardware being sent that way. Hey, you're building for my nephew. He's so ecstatic for this PC. You did a tremendous work. Oh, thank you. I'm glad he was able to tune in. Because I messaged April and I didn't know if she was able to see my message or not. But the PC is built. We just got to install Windows now and send I don't know, drivers and all that stuff set up, finished. That's what I'm thinking of. Blah 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 blah. English is hard. CPU, GPU. The CPU this is a budget build, so we are doing a Intel i5 4th generation. So I believe it's like a 4430 or something like that. It's got 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and it's an RX 578 gigabyte graphics card with a 500 watt power supply and a B85 gigabyte motherboard. And it's 1 terabyte SATA SSD. I think future CPUs will have very stronger graphics integrated, so no longer. I don't think it's going to get to that point yet, but yes, I believe integrated graphics is going to continue to get stronger, which will be nice for budget PCs like this, because then we could go with integrated graphics instead of having to spend money on the graphics card. We could go with a newer platform. What would I recommend for your first graphics card on your first PC? If you're not on a budget. So if you're not on a budget, it comes down to what games are you playing and what screen resolution do you want to play at. If it's your first PC and you don't have a budget, I would say to have a really awesome gaming experience, you can do a you could definitely do something like a RTX 4060 or 3060 or an AMD RX 6600. That's a cheaper end of that budget, but if you want like 1440p, you go up to a 7700 XT for AMD and a 4070 Ti. It will get you some really nice performance. You don't necessarily need, top of the line to enjoy PC gaming. So you don't need an RTX 4090 is what I'm saying, which is $1,700. Was it's $2,200 now. Just for the card. Very clean PC. Can't wait for mine. Yes, sir. We've got. I'm actually running out and grabbing the graphics card for you tomorrow. LG chap. I think that's who I'm talking to. And then we'll be doing it tomorrow. So probably tomorrow afternoon we'll fire up the stream. Somewhere in between, I would say 2 and 4 p.m. is when I will fire up the stream. And I leave that window very broad because I have walk-ins over here, so I can't always start the stream exactly when I say. Waiting to see the official reveals of those super cards. Yes, the super cards are interesting to me. I don't know if they're actually worth it. I think it's a refresh for NVIDIA to try to just squeeze a little bit more money out. They'll probably, what I envision them doing is they'll stop making the 4070 Ti and start only making the 4070 Super and 4070 Ti Super and, the Supers. And they're just refreshing the exact same board with a little bit extra features on it, or, faster clock speeds or more shader, whatever this and that. So they're just adding a little extra to the card to get a little more sold. Oh no, you didn't sound rude at all, man. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I would be excited for my PC too, and it's my mix-up. I should have caught where the card was, and the card was still in Ontario, Canada, even though it was ordered in the US, and for some reason it's coming from Ontario, and they didn't ship it until Tuesday anyway, and it was supposed to be shipped with the case that I ordered, and the case arrived, so I assumed it was here without looking when I talked to you. The RTX 5050 Ti 50 gig. No, it's probably going to be more like the RTX 5050 Ti Super at 50 gigabyte. Because they like to add the Ti and the Super to make it sound better. I don't know why. I like AMD's method better. Hey, except for the XTX versus the XT and the non-XT. That is a little confusing for, you know, entry people that don't understand all the acronyms and everything. But I like how they went and did the 6700, then the 6750, then the 6800. They put that 50 in. That, for anybody that has any sign of intelligence, will look at it and say 6700 is less than the 6750, and the 6800 is better than the both of those. So it's because the number increases, which is truth behind it. I don't know why they have to make it confusing with the TI, Super, non-Super, non-TI. Make it simple. I still have an AMD Bulldozer CPU lying around. Oh, somewhere? Okay, cool. I think my first... Well, not my first. It would be more like my second. It was my first major upgrade. Was going from an AMD... I think it was an Athlon... Athlon 3... which had 400 or so gigahertz on it. It was so bad. Back then it wasn't bad, but it was bad when I needed to upgrade. And I upgraded to an AMD Socket A, AMD Duron, which I thought was, and it was actually a huge upgrade compared to where I was. It was a single core processor. This is like back in the day, guys. I mean, way back in the day. And I had, I think 1 gigabyte of RAM at that point as well, and that was almost, I don't remember what the limit was on that board, but, or what board I even had, I don't even remember. It's been so long. But it was a great processor to overclock. The Duron, you can overclock pretty hard, and then the Athlon was the next upgrade I did for that socket on Socket A, and you could overclock the crap out of that Athlon processor, but was not capable of keeping up with those Pentiums, the Intel Pentium 4. Man, that thing crushed those AMD CPUs back then. Hell, I remember using my Amiga. The half computer was inside the keyboard, yeah. That thing's old. But back in my day, we only had single cores. And you had to dial out to get to the internet. Unless you were special and had the broadband or satellite, which back then satellite was faster than dial-up, a wired connection. For some cases, I guess. If you were playing more of an FPS game online that required very instant connectivity, dial-up was actually better than the satellite because of the latency it took to go from Earth to the satellite back to Earth. It took over 700 milliseconds to do that round trip. Versus dial-up, which just has to go through the line and doesn't have to leave the planet Earth, was around 200 to 300 milliseconds. On some bad connections, it was in the 400s. But that was very playable. Very playable. You just had to really think ahead while you were playing. Do, 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 All right, so we've got Windows installing on this. I've got to do some driver updates, but I do have to go take a look at this golf simulator setup local over here, and I will be back live at it again tomorrow after the Micro Center trip and the madness in the morning. So probably tomorrow afternoon in Eastern time, about I'd say anywhere from 2 to 4 p.m. we'll be live again, and then we will possibly be live again Sunday afternoon as well, though I don't like to compete with NFL. Is there any NFL games going on tomorrow? I don't even remember. I'm terrible. I don't follow sports anymore. I'm so busy. And then Monday we have, for sure, another build stream. So lots of build streams coming up this weekend. Make sure you guys tune in, follow, share, subscribe, whatever you got to do. It all supports us. And again, any of the funds that we make from the stream go to the $1 PC giveaway. But it's not a giveaway because we're selling the PC for $1. But you get it. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good night. Happy Friday.